Bang, bang, that awful sound. Bang, bang, my baby shut me
Okay, so I had heard about Sonny for a long time from other people as this badass Russian dude who trains people, and he is. And as I got to know Sonny, I realized, yes, he can teach us how to fuck somebody up, right? That's what he does. He can teach us to be stronger and be able to take it and all of those things. But what he has is insight to what happens in the collapse of a society and then what happens after. And then how rebuilding looks. And I got really excited about that, and we had a super interview. But he also, his mindset lessons are about 4,000 times more important than any training that the physical training he's going to do, because it's the mindset a lot of times that makes the difference between success and failure. And this is a dude who's going to take things where failure is not an option. So I'm going to invite Sonny from Forward Training Concepts up to talk about conflict management, the science and art of de-escalation.
All right. As a legal immigrant from Russia, I feel like the most high-tech I've been in many years now, with all these contraptions. Hello, everybody. Excuse my accent. It's from Western Texas.
Yeah, you sound just like me.
Thank you. I appreciate that. This is, it was unusual for me, probably, who's in the top 10 most violent people in this gathering, to do a presentation on conflict management or de-escalation. And it's... Those of you who've been in the conflict, and all of you have been in the conflict, this could be a conflict of domestic nature. This could be a conflict with business partner. This could be a conflict that becomes physical in nature. Think for yourself and answer to yourself how often it was worth it. And what is the price that you paid, both sometimes physically, certainly mentally, certainly emotionally. How long did it time to restore some kind of a sanity into situation, right? Believe it or not, sometimes one or two wrong said words will translate into this coming out. And then it's irreversible. Sometimes, more often than not, it is your pride. It is your vanity. I'm not going to cross this line. I'm not going to say that, you know what, you're right, I'm an asshole. Next thing you know, 30 seconds later, you're pumping his head full of lead. And then for 25 years, you're becoming intimately familiar with both Tyrone and Bubba. And, when you go number 2, it does not feel the same again, ever. I apologize for some comparisons that I make, especially for our online audience. They're probably going like, wow, this is great. Yeah, well, toughen up, Cupcake. There was a wise man a long time ago. His name was Salahuddin. Those who studied a little bit of history of crusades and all that stuff, he's the guy who eventually took over Jerusalem, right? And a lot of his leaders of his armies, they wanted to murder every Christian in Jerusalem. And this is something that Salahuddin said: do not spill the blood, for blood never sleeps. In my industry, where I teach people to do violent things when necessary, it's glaringly obvious that there is a huge gap. There are dudes that go like, I'm gonna have gun and 3 magazines, and I'm gonna have medical gear, and when someone says, hey dude, you hit my truck, my way of resolving the situation, the answer is, the fuck I did. Now, tell me how de-escalatory that is. Right? He's disrespectful. The fuck I did. He just called you a liar, and he doesn't give a shit about your pain. Right? Now reverse the situation. Okay, someone comes up to you, right, and you dismiss him because you know you didn't hit the truck. It wasn't you, right? So we can say that the origin of conflict was irrational. To whom? To you or to the person who has an issue? So when you make them seem or feel or think that they're full of shit and they're irrational, have you de-escalated anything? To me, to saying like, sir, what kind of truck was it? Does that change just a little bit the flow of what's happening in your interaction? It does, right? You show genuine interest. Whether it's acted out and you took some lessons from Robert De Niro, which I don't know how you would spend 2 hours with that asshole. Nevertheless, great actor, one of the greatest actors who ever lived, right? Or it's truly genuine, you care about it. You're also showing him what? That his concern is meaningful and rational. In basic terms, this is social literacy. And what I found in the industry of gun owners, shooters, tacticians, wannabe operators is that dudes can shoot guns, some can even throw half-ass kick, some, very few. But absolute majority are absolutely socially illiterate. I'm going to put a check mark. I'll say to him something dismissive, and there you go. I tried to de-escalate. The hell you did. You didn't. We, or most of you folks, starting with, your homesteading, becoming self-sufficient, we are busy folks. How much time you have left to learn how to fight? None. What's the solution? Buy a gun, 1,000 rounds of ammunition, maybe or maybe not take a class. So you basically made a consciously ignorant decision that, this is what's important to me. I'm going to have food. I'm going to be a prepper. I'm going to grow plants and food and animals and learn how to can and all that stuff. And then I'm going to learn how to protect it by shooting that bastard in the face. Does anybody see the problem there? Because it's kind of like you have bookends, right? What's in between the book? Well, I took the class from this guy who was 20 years SWAT officer, and he teaches, like how to deal with belligerents, homeless people in the gas station. Teaching from which perspective? He's a cop. It's presumed and assumed authority. Do you have any? You don't. This is not about being compassionate. This is not about being forgiving. This is simply something that makes sense. Learn to communicate with people to avoid that which will become irreversible. Because you're going to lose your farm, you're going to lose your homestead, you're going to lose your future, your kids will get effed if they're still going to public school, because other kids and their parents at home will talk that you became a murderer and shot the guy in the face because he said something unpleasant to you. You're probably going to lose half of your friends. Okay? You just sold your future because you didn't have time to become socially literate in high-density conflict situations. Dudes will take classes, knife, gun, mostly gun. Some dudes will really be wise and they're going to take medical class. Okay? You understand that the fist, the elbow, the knife, the gun, and the follow-up of medical could have been avoided if you learn how to speak to people. There's a lot to learn. This is partially acting. This is partially learning to observe people, and you can say that nobody is alike, but we're all created the same. Our nature and our reactions to things are not that different. Verbiage may be different, body language may be different. All of that is trainable. The only thing that you need to start with is to understand that it's okay to incur certain costs, including it hurt your pride. It cost you $20 to buy a drink to assholes that called your wife fat bitch. Ask yourself a question, is she? She isn't. So they lied. Why are you worried about it? Why are you going to need to shoot that asshole in the face? If she is fat and she's your wife, You either find it attractive or she has inner beauty that's way, way beyond her being slightly overweight or whatnot. Why are you worried about it? Why does it affect you? It's your pride. Pride kills more dudes than guns, cars, narcotics combined. That is your enemy. People go like, man, but you know, I'm training to be tough, to be unbeatable, and now I'm going to backpedal. How much does it cost you to backpedal? You shoot somebody in the face. Anybody is in the law business? What's the initial payment when you call the lawyer and you go like, hey, Johnny, I shot the schmuck in the face 3 times. What do you think is the number he's going to ask you to send it to you before he agrees to represent you?
$75,000.
Hurt pride, $75K. I mean, I'm not a mathematician, but the answer kind of writes itself, right? You know, in violence training industry, we say that there are 3 fights. There's a physical fight. There's going to be legal fight because this country of ours is baseball is not national sport. It's suing each other. It's a litigious society. There's going to be that fight. And whether you like it or not, or you think that, hey, he deserved it, you're going to have moral fight and spiritual fight here. And that's the one that sometimes 5 years later will get you to the point where you're going to swallow your own gun and pull the trigger. Because there are things you're going to learn. This guy who was asshole and he did this and that and he deserved it and he was drunk and he insulted. You know what? Not even insulted. He smacked your wife on the ass. He certainly deserves to die, right? Then you're going to learn that the guy was intoxicated. He has 3 kids, 2 of whom are special needs kids. And you think that's not going to eat at you? You think you are that tough that that's not going to affect you? It will. It will come back at you and you're going to have to live with it. Some dudes will choose not to. Right? So when I was doing this course, which is actually 8-hour course, and I have to squeeze this into 1 hour, less than 1 hour, to corporate clientele in Finland, they called it when shit hits the fan. And then I thought about it, and it actually a very good analogy explaining what this is was born. When the conflict happens, what are you, the shit or the fan? Now, anyone with IQ above 80 should figure out when I ask you next question. What determines the level of contamination in the room? The amount of shit or the speed of the fan rotating? I know I'm probably using more profane language than all speakers combined did before today, but hey, you know, from Russia with love, right? By the way, a Russian joke, right? So the Russian guy gets stopped by TSA at the airport. They go like, where are you from? From Russia? Okay. Your occupation? He goes, no, just visiting. The speed of the fan spinning is your reaction to the shit that's being thrown at you. Regulate that. Look at it in such a way that you have to understand certain things. This is not just random where you go like, I'm going to come up with the right words, with the right body posture, with the right posation when I say things, with the right way to look at people and do the, you know, Dwayne Johnson eyebrow thing and all that, you know. Although you can spend a lot of time in front of the mirror or video camera or whatnot and practice those skills. And I would say if you want to really play this game, you should. So sitting with people like Lance Henriksen and Tom Berenger and a few other pretty well-known names, it was very interesting to watch them prepare for their, let's say, dialogue in the movie, you know, and how much attention they paid to the smallest details that most of us don't even notice if we are to watch the movie. Devil is in the details. When you're examining and you're training yourself, if you decide to do so, to avoid the conflict and to de-escalate the situation, when we're studying the way conflict evolves and becomes something that you can no longer reverse, you need to look at nature of the conflict. What I mean by nature of the conflict, rational, irrational. I already said, if it's mistaken identity or the person is impaired. just because his accusation or his beef is misplaced, don't discount it. It's going to go a long way, and it's also going to take his brain out of his loop of being what? A victim. That when you have a fight, ask the other person a question. Are we fighting each other, or are we fighting a problem? You can project that to even irrational person. Why? That is because there is something that you can call a purpose of the conflict. If person didn't come out with his guns blazing or his elbows dropping on your face, what is he expecting by the very virtue that he's speaking to you? He's expecting a resolution. So now when he's cycled and angry, he's victimized by you, although maybe it wasn't you. Okay? He's looking for a resolution. Put an effort, not only in the process of doing it, but preparing and to be able to do it, to offer a resolution that is satisfactory to both sides, not necessarily perfect, and they want their dignity preserved to a certain degree. Nobody likes to be punked. Maybe it's an apology, maybe it's a restitution. Never, ever, you can write this down, start your conversation with someone comes at you with, I'm sorry. Because this could be, for one, this could be admission that all of his suspicions are correct. And in certain different situations where the other guy or the other individual may have a peer pressure, because it's 25-year-olds, 3 of them, and there's peer pressure for you to act up a certain way. You just allow them to become a higher degree bully. Okay? Be respectful. As much as they called you names, they called you faggot, they called you this, they called you that. Are you? If you're not, he's lying. Why are you upset? If you are, he told you the truth. Why are you upset? Let's look at origins of conflict. Again, folks, I'm trying to squeeze 8 hours of very immersive and very intensive course into less than an hour. So I'm kind of cruising through things without going into examples, because usually we do this with scenarios. We set up a scenario. I tell people this is what's going to happen. You're a guy whose wife got called certain names, and there's 4 guys who are 25, and they had 2 whiskeys too many each. Play. It's very interesting to see how sometimes the smallest difference in body language, where the guy goes like, well, guys, you see what that projects versus the guy coming up, he smiles and he goes like, fellas, having a good time? And then he looks at the guy who smacks the ass of his wife. Especially you having a good time? Right? It projects different message. You can say that, well, that looks a little bit confrontational. No, that doesn't look pusillanimous. Okay? Kindness has to come with strength. Now, you can either have the real strength, or you can be a good actor and have a poker face of the strength. I suggest the first route. Be competent in being able to handle violence physically, mentally, spiritually. And that makes you less willing to go the physical route. In martial arts, there is a saying, the true mastery of martial arts is when you no longer have to fight. I know it's a stale cliche, but interestingly enough, I'm finding out, I'm not saying I mastered it, nowhere near it. I have a lot less need to fight. Just because you can, do you have to? It can be because you are devout Christian, you know, love thy neighbor as you love thyself, which is not a bad idea. It could be because you are just that kind of personality, caring, empathy. Or it could be that through training, preparation, and all that stuff, you have nothing left to prove, and that training was so realistic that it killed your pride. Not self-worth, pride. But if you ever hear your own voice in your head saying, I'm humble, you have a problem. You have a problem. Come see me. Origins of conflict. Learn to observe people. Watch people. Okay? Even the way they talk, you will see certain things. Is he loud and obnoxious? or is he reserved, quiet, and more of an observer? When he talks, especially with other people present, although his message sounds like it's directed at you, but he's more interested in getting reaction of others around. Is he a rock star performer versus the guy who delivers clear, concise message? You'd be surprised how often dudes that talk loud and the most insulting words being thrown in your face, it's not being done for you. It's being done for their peers and others watching. They are trying to impress. This is a very insecure person. It is good to know because that will map out how you deal with a person like that. Is he provoking or is he accusing? You know, Dr. Jordan B. Peterson says that words have meaning. They do. It's not the same. It's not synonymous. Provoking or accusing. Why is this black cock in front of me? Okay. Sarcastic or direct and dry. That tells you a lot about the person. Now, I'm not saying that direct and dry is usually not as intellectual or smart as sarcastic, because usually we say that sarcastic people are usually the smarter people. But sometimes people start enjoying their own ability to be sarcastic so much, stroking his own pecker or trying to get to you. Okay. You can detect how people structure the sentences. Okay. It'll tell you a lot. Watching people and listening to people is incredible exercise. Not only are you going to learn about them, you're going to learn something about yourself. And then you're going to start paying attention to the verbiage and the way you structure your own sentences, how they come through to the audience that listens. Right? Not everything that happens to you and it's about to become violent is a tragedy. Replace the tragedy with shit happens. And all of a sudden it's not so bad, is it? Because when it's tragic, right, your vision gets like that, auditory exclusion happens, and you start becoming stiff in your responses, and even more importantly, stiff in understanding what you're hearing. You're going to start hearing what you want to hear to support your agenda. And your agenda has been shaped by your own fear. What do you think are pillars of violence? What would make any of you, under extreme circumstances, respond violently? Injuring your family member. Do you have levels of injury to your family member or no?
Not really, no.
What if someone walked up to your kid and you just turned and you see your 6-year-old son being spanked on the butt by this dude? What are you doing to that dude? You're probably going to shoot him. He spanked your 6-year-old brat because he called that dude's mother an old bitch. You just weren't aware of that. So now you shot the dude, but you didn't know about it. You just saw the spanking, and your reaction was to the spanking, and you smoked the dude with some 147 grain, right? Although by your age, you're probably carrying 230 grain, 45 caliber, right? You see, when you observe people, you can start seeing things. I can tell you who carries 40, 45. Well, those who carry 40, they shouldn't be here. But it's supposed to be funny, all right? Threat to your safety, security, well-being. Your family's safety, security, well-being. Disrespect. Right? And we're always looking like, you know, I'm insulted what's in front of my eyes or outside of my ears. Right? So we're blaming this shit. But we don't understand that you read the words in the book. You heard the voice saying the sentence. You observed hands moving, projecting an image. But where is the fan? Between the ears and behind the eyes. It's not what offended you, threatened you. It's your perception of it that led you to the decision making. Words, body language, posture, all of that is like techniques in the fight. How you deflect a knife, how you disarm the gun, how you kick someone in the balls. These are all techniques, and they need to be practiced. If you think, again, you're going to come up, you know, in the situation, you're going to rise up to the occasion, you won't. You'll babble like an idiot. You won't know how to respond. You're either going to start looking very submissive or overpowering and aggressive, and neither one of those will get you where you need to be. Society teaches us to be goal-oriented. Not process, not work-oriented, but goal-oriented. I need to win this argument. I need to win this fight. No. My next word has to have a purpose. It needs to achieve the goal. If I do a punch, a cross, an uppercut, an elbow, and a knee, I don't need to worry about winning the fight if I do every single one of them the best it can be done. Live in the moment for a moment, fight in the moment for a moment. Memorizing sentences, cool sentences to throw into conflict, you're not going to sound like you because it's not. Come up with your own way to express what needs to be said. And that takes practice. That's like lifting weight, that's like doing push-up, that's like punching heavy back or shooting the damn target. Okay? Except you talk to people every day. How often you shoot people? Lead in a conflict. Don't ever say, I'm sorry. Don't never end what you have to say with a statement. Always a question. Play the music, let them dance to your music. When you make a statement, they'll throw a question at you. Who's reacting, who's acting? There's a lot more to it. As I said, I do this minimum for 2 hours in my basic firearm classes. I do this 4 hours in more advanced classes, and I do a standalone 8-hour class, and it's a nonstop. It's a nonstop. If you have questions, go ahead.
So if there are questions, please walk up to the mic, and we'll take, so technically if you need to leave because it's 5, whatever, but that was riveting, and I'm sure there are probably questions or comments. Please walk up to the mic so that the digital pass holders can hear you. And don't be afraid of him.
No, I'm not.
Don't be afraid. All right. See, a chick got up.
There you go. See, women show what courage is.
Okay. How do you prove a negative? In your example of the truck, you didn't hit the truck, but they're accusing you of that. So how do you prove a negative and get out of that situation?
Very simple question to my accuser, right? What truck do you drive, sir? What does that subconsciously implies? You don't know what truck it was. Why otherwise would I ask that question? Immediately after I said that, I go like, do you know how much damage? Because I do have good insurance. What are you projecting? You don't feel guilty, and if someone proved that you're guilty, you can resolve the situation to his satisfaction. Right? What else can you say? So I tell you what, I was in a rush, but dude, if someone effed up my truck the way you say it happened to you, notice what I said? The way you say. I didn't say the way they damaged your truck. He goes like, so now you know how much damage is done to my truck. This is prepared. The way you say it was damaged, I know the owner of that bar and they have cameras. I'll call them right now. They're going to take a look and we'll take a look. So I'm not defending myself in any way, shape, or form. I'm getting him involved in conversation. And when I'm making these statements and go like, you all right with that? I'm fine to spend, extra 30 minutes here until your situation is resolved. Cool? You're making yourself part of a solution. You're offering help. Why? Because you said, the fuck I did, and he goes like, yeah, now what? Now what?
You kind of answered it already a little bit, but just curious if you're in a situation and somebody says something to your wife, very disrespectful, and you're just mind your own business, how do you stay focused for not losing your shit and just,
Pretty simple. Like disrespectful in what sense? You say, let's say, don't worry, I'm not going to go after you and shoot you right from here, okay? This is my wife, Megan, in matching camouflage red pants, right? Say something as disrespectful as you can about my wife. Go ahead, yeah.
I'll let you.
I'll come up with something really, really, like, obnoxious, right? I don't know about you, dude, but your wife looks to me like, I don't think you're getting into blowjobs. I think she's into licking pussy. My response, how did you know? Dude, are you like clairvoyant? So I want to learn from you how to say that stuff because we would find turds to bring into our bedroom more often if I had your skills. it becomes funny, it becomes de-escalatory. Why are you taking this personally? She's your wife, she's with you. She knows that you love her, you appreciate her, and all that stuff. Is this she already married you. Do you have to prove your manhood to a woman who already married? Or do you have to do something that's going to dissolve your marriage? Because while in jail, it's hard to stay married. You know what I'm saying? It is hard to stay married while you're in jail. Because as a woman, she has needs. It's kind of hard to meet him from jail while Bubba meets his needs on your ass. If you know what I'm saying. Again, we take so much stock, it's all pride. I have to prove something, right? Now, will I look at his license plate number in the truck and I find him in the dark night someday? Maybe. But that's a separate conversation. Okay.
Appreciate it.
Cool.
All right, let's hear it for Sonny. Sonny, how can people talk to you if they want to ask you more questions?
You can go to my website, sonnypuzikas.com. Kind of easy to remember. My name of the podcast is Gospel of Violence Podcast. I have the channel under the same name on YouTube and some other social media. So that's where they can find me. And I'm in East Texas, by the way. So
Thank you so much, Sonny.
thank you, Nicole.